And we're live.
We're live?
We're live.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen.
We're back.
For another review.
Somehow.
The scheduled review was a cold day from hell.
Cold day in hell.
A cold day in hell. Ooh.
Get your propositions right.
No, we watched it, we took notes, and we lost our notes.
Forever.
It's not like Jordan lost his notes or I lost my notes and we could work off like the notes that weren't lost. We both lost our notes.
Yep.
And instead of going back and watching A Cold Day in Hell, we did the next best thing.
We watched NXT.
Yeah. We should have. But we watched an episode of AWA from January 24th, 1988.
What an episode.
What an episode indeed. I guess should we just get straight into this?
I don't even know. Maybe.
Alright, we're going to start things off. The show kicked off as a tag match between Mick. Was it Mick or Mike?
It's Mick.
Okay, Mick Kiniski and Mr. Magnificent with Medusa versus Van Horn and
Jake the Milkman. What was the last name?
Jake the Milkman Milligan.
Yes.
Now, the first thing I noticed in this tag match is Jake the Milkman is a very short, very fat, bearded man.
Yeah. He's a milkman.
He drinks a lot of milk. He looks... Mr. Magnificent worked the eyes. Well, he raked the eyes. And then... What? You look confused.
Yeah, because you say he drinks a lot of milk, but you drink a lot of milk.
Well, I look like him.
No, you don't.
Alright, let's get going into the match.
Alright.
Milligan. Mr. Damn it. Alright.
What the hell, Andrew?
You got me confused by calling me the Milkman. Mr. Magnificent. He started off by raking the eyes. And then he did something that's smooth, where you drag your opponent's face across the ropes. He did that, but instead of dragging his face, he dragged his eyes across the ropes.
Is that the same thing?
Well, no, it's like specifically the eyes. Like, somehow his eyes were directly on the ropes.
Oh.
Yeah, it was weird, but alright. This was not a long match.
God damn it! What are you doing?
I'm not used to these 80 reviews. I can't speak.
Get back into it. Get back into it. Get into it.
The only other highlight I wrote is Kiniski won with a pile driver.
And it was a pile driver that shocked the fans to death.
Yes, it wasn't as bad as Crush.
No.
But this pile driver looked brutal. He dropped him, and as he was falling, he let go of Fatty Milkman. And no, it wasn't Fatty McMahon. He let go of Van Horn.
The godfather of Rob Van Dam.
Yes, and Van Horn just fell directly on his head, and Kiniski got the cover as the Milkman just stood on the apron and did nothing. Van Horn looked dead after the match.
Yeah, he actually did not look alright. It looked like that pile driver really was not okay.
Yeah. Kiniski and Magnificent, after the match, kicked the Milkman and Horn out of the ring. The entire time, Horn was hanging on to his neck. Either he was a really good seller, or he was actually hurt the entire time.
I believe he was hurt.
Got anything to add to the match?
After the match.
Alright. Well,
there was the standings.
Oh, did you write it down?
Yeah.
Aw.
Well, it was talking about the best tag teams in the business, or in the AWA at the time.
Well, the tag team rankings.
Yes, it was the tag team rankings. Thank you, Andrew. And for some reason, between the Midnight Express and I'm blanking on the other team.
Alright, so I wrote down the entire rankings right here. Now, this is a good idea, having the rankings showing your top teams. Makes it seem who's the most important teams. And the rankings go, the number one team is the Midnight Express, who were the tag team champions at the time. Then you have the Midnight Rockers. Then you have Mr. Magnificent and Slick Nick, which I just realizing is probably his name is Nick, not Mick.
Yeah.
And then you have the Nasty Boys. So there are your four top teams of AWA
for some reason,
in 88
between
at this time period.
Slick Nick and Mr. Magnificent and the Midnight Rockers, I don't know why, but I kept seeing the word fuck.
Alright.
Like, the word fuck just appears on the screen for me for some reason. Just all over it. And I'm like, why? Am I going blind? Am I going dead? Am I going insane?
Yes.
The last one slightly.
Alright. Then after that, we had a match.
A match!
We had
a match of matches. The matches of matches.
We have Tommy.
No, just Tom.
Oh, Tom. He spelled Tom with an E.
There's no E in there.
There wasn't?
No.
Why did I write E? I wrote T-O-M-E.
Why?
I don't know. So we got Tom, Rocky...
That's Toma.
Yeah. Maybe I was watching a Toma... I don't know. We got Tom, Rocky Stones taking on the man who is our picture for this YouTube video. The one, the only, Billy Jack Strong.
And ladies and gentlemen, that right there is the face of a man who does not know what the fuck he's doing.
Now, they said that Billy Jack Strong benches over 600 pounds. He can squat 900 pounds, and he can deadlift over 600 pounds. And just to show you how strong he was, the first spot in the match, Tom got him in a full Nelson, and Strong just got out of it easily. Now, at first, this looked alright. Strong looked like a good, tough guy who got over. He looks like a mix between Mike Awesome and the Ultimate Warrior with his face and his gear. But then the match went on, and it wasn't even a long match. But it may have been too long for Billy Jack Strong versus Tom Stone. The next thing I wrote was Strong got him into the corner, and he went to do the big man toss, like grab him under the arm and chuck him halfway across the ring. Now I don't know if it was Billy's fault or Tom's fault.
I blame Billy. I blame the announcer especially.
Wait, hold up. We'll let you get to your announcer issue after. Like, I reviewed a match and you review yours, and you can go to your announcer issue.
Fine!
So he went to throw him, and he didn't get him very high up. And this also looked like it may have been Tom's fault, because Tom looked like he didn't want to go high up. He just looked like he was going to do the smallest roll he could. Now, for an alleged strongman, you think you could just toss him anyway. But no. So that looked bad, but I was like, well, people make mistakes in matches. Maybe you can make it look better. They tried to do a clothesline over the top rope spot, and he didn't go over the top rope. He clotheslined Tom, and Tom did not go over the top rope. And this was Tom's fault. Usually when guys don't go over the top rope, they just roll out of the ring. Tom did not. Tom just stayed in the ring and then just went straight on offense. He kicked Billy in the gut. Then try to body slam Billy, but since Billy's a strong guy, I guess that also makes him too big to pick up. So he couldn't pick up Billy, but Billy was able to pick him up. Somehow Tom got back on offense and tried to ram Billy's head into the turnbuckle, which in a spot like with Ultimate Warrior, he would keep ramming his head and Warrior would not sell it.
Yeah.
So then, let's see. Strong would not be hurt, and he hit Tom's head against the turnbuckle, and then he Irish whipped him, threw him up in the air like a flapjack, but then just let him fall down.
No, it's sometimes a flapjack.
Yeah. Oh yes, the announcer.
No.
The match is
It's my issue. It's my issue. It's my issue. I've got a problem with the AWA commentators, whoever they are.
Can't even fit. You want me to just finish this match?
Fine, finish this match.
Alright. I got distracted by a quote I wrote down from an announcer. But Rocky got back. Stone got back on offense. He threw Tom into the corner. He got up in a mounted punches position. But he stood on a middle rope. And instead of doing punches, he grabbed Tom, and he just fell back into a DDT.
Which is when the announcer goes, by God, a front pile driver.
Yes.
A front pile driver.
A falling DDT.
From the middle rope.
And it was a bad DDT. They showed a replay, and at no point did Tom's head ever hit the ground.
At no point did anyone hit the ground. They levitated there for all I care.
Yeah. And then Strong, after that, won with a tombstone. Now, I'll let you talk about your issues with the announcer now.
First, that tombstone. If this man...
You got an issue with Billy Jack Strong?
Yeah. If this man just botched a hip toss out of the corner, and then botches the clothesline out to the ring. Why would I let someone tombstone me?
I'm not going to fully blame Jack on all of them. Tom didn't look like he wanted to do any of it. Tom looked like he didn't want to be tossed.
And I would stiff Tom. Because that's back in the times when you could do that.
Maybe he stiffed him on the tombstone. He was holding his neck too after the match.
Good. But, by God, what commentating is this? To the point where you don't know a DDT is a front pile driver. I mean, I've never... That's mind-boggling. It's not... It's sad. It's undeniably sad.
The one announcer wanted to keep talking about Billy's body, too.
Oh, yes. I also wrote that. Look at the biceps. Look at the torso. As he sounded so intrigued with Billy Jack Strong's body.
And it's not only that, but, I mean, that's somewhat fine. People say, look at the 24-inch pythons of Hogan.
Yeah.
But even after this match ended and the second match began, right as the two started wrestling in the next match, a guy went back to talking about how great in shape Billy was.
Yeah, this guy was completely head over heels for Billy Jack Strong.
And then the line that he said threw me off was when he wrote, he doesn't know if he's on his feet or on horseback. Talking about when Billy was punching him. I guess he punches so hard that it completely dazed Tom. And to the point where he didn't know if he was standing in a wrestling match or on a horse's back. Not in a wrestling match, I presume, or maybe he wrestles while on a horse. I don't really know.
I don't have a lot I need to say.
Alright.
This was pretty self-explanatory.
After this match, much like with the top tag teams, they showed the most popular in AWA, with number 1 being Greg Gagne, number 2 being the tag team, the Midnight Rockers.
I'm sorry, how'd you pronounce it the first time?
Greg Gagne.
No. When we were watching it, you were like, what is that, Greg Gagne?
Gagne.
I'm like, Gagne? You're like, oh yeah. But don't worry, we all have those mistakes. Those Grammy Award-winning Usos.
So number 1 was Greg Gagne, Greg Gagne. Greg Gagne. Number 2 was the team of the Midnight Rockers. Number 3 was Moohoo McDaniel.
Moohoo?
Yeah, Wahoo.
Wahoo.
Oh, woohoo.
Woohoo!
Well, you say if you're going on a ride. Number 4 was Billy Jack Strong. That man that you just insulted is the 4th most popular man in AWA.
I don't give a damn. AWA's dead.
Well, number 5 was Alan West.
Well, I thought it was Adam West for a second.
What about that? How do you feel about Alan West?
I was hoping it was Adam West.
We should have looked up a picture of Alan West and had him in this.
Why?
Why not? He's the number 5 most popular guy. We don't even
That's
know
not a good reason. Why not?
It's a better reason than why.
Alright, anyway, we get an interview from a reporter from Pro Wrestling Illustrated, and he's interviewing the 3rd most popular guy,
yes.
Wahoo McDaniel. And it's a good segment. Wahoo's telling about...
Well, if you really think about it, Wahoo's actually the 4th most popular guy, because number 2 is Michaels and Jannetty. I guess they're tied. Let's do whatever.
So anyway, Wahoo McDaniel's explaining the importance of an Indian strap match and why it means so much to him.
Talking about his match with Kurt Hennig.
Yeah.
And apparently Kurt Hennig had to get 50 stitches in his finger after that match.
There's no running away in an Indian strap match.
No,
there's nothing but hardcore justice and good old yapple pie.
And then after talking about the Indian strap match,
he goes on to basically commend everyone on the roster.
Well, not everyone. Billy Jack Strong.
Well, yeah. No, he says good things about Billy Jack Strong. About how he's an amazing athlete.
He's an Indian boy like himself who could lift this building if he wanted to.
I don't think that's saying bad things.
Mm-hmm. No, but he said the entire roster. The entire roster is not Billy Jack Strong.
Well, if you believe that one commentator, he is.
He also talked about Paulie Dangerously, how maniacal he is. And he talked about the Midnight Express, and how they needed Paul Heyman because they're not good talkers, but they're good wrestlers.
Yep. But I think the most surprising thing about this interview is that Billy Jack Strong is an Indian boy.
I couldn't tell. I didn't know what I thought he looked like.
I still say Mike Awesome.
I can sort of see that, Mike Awesome. Who's that guy behind him?
I'll say it's Jim Cornette and go on with my life.
Alright. He looks very confused in that picture.
Yeah, he looks exactly how
he looks like he's on something right there. Like he doesn't.
Isn't every wrestler back then on something?
I guess.
So, I wouldn't put him in his own class with himself, but he definitely looks like he could botch a couple moves that match.
He could. Maybe he's a lot better if he wasn't on something.
Yeah. Oh, what the hell am I clicking?
Alright, up next, we have Dennis Stamp versus Soldat Yustov.
I just wrote Russian dude.
Good enough.
Because that's all his gimmick was, is that Soviet Union at this time, I'm Soviet. Yeah.
He came out with the Soviet flag, and he No. He came out with the Soviet flag.
Ah!
You keep that talk. He came out with the Soviet flag, and he showed it to the fans, and then he did, screw you with his arms.
Yeah.
I didn't think that was a Soviet thing, but I guess.
I don't believe he was actually just, Latin, but he just needs a way to get, some heat. So, here, just become Russian. He's like, okay.
Alright, there wasn't a lot to this match.
There really wasn't.
Soldad started the match by just shoving Stamp, goddammit, over and over again. Soldad hit a big body slam.
Oh my god! I remember this match now. I looked at this and I was like, what?
Oh, you're talking about the finish. Wait till we get to the finish.
Yes, you get there.
Alright, so Soldad hit a running... So he hit the big body slam, then he hit a huge running elbow drop. Pretty impressive, actually. Not really, now I think about it, wasn't that impressive. Soldad threw Stamp into the ropes. He went to splash Dennis, but Dennis moved, and the idea was Soldad ran into the turnbuckle. But the same announcer that was talking about Billy Jack Strong made it certain that he did not run into the turnbuckle, because he said if he ran into the turnbuckle, he would be bleeding. He's not bleeding. He didn't really run into the turnbuckle. I think he's just playing possum. And when you saw him on getting beat up and he wasn't playing possum, you think, it's fake.
Yeah.
This announcer was just pointing out he really didn't hit the turnbuckle.
Yep.
Went out of his way, so he didn't believe it.
Yep.
And then Dennis threw Soldad into the turnbuckle. And he ran at Soldad.
Oh my god.
And a move. You can see this in any match, in any wrestling
company. Match, I could do it to Andrew right now in some backyard fed, and everyone would be like, okay, that makes sense. That's a normal transitional move.
Or an RCW, if they were still around.
A normal transitional move.
But I don't even know what the finish is yet. The finish is he threw Soldad into the ropes, and he went running at him. And Soldad picked up his leg, and Dennis ran into his foot.
Yes. The normal reverse, the big boot spot out of the corner. So when you throw your opponent into the turnbuckle and you run at your opponent, and your opponent counters by putting their foot up, so you run into a big boot in the corner. That's the normal transitional move that everyone's been doing for the past years now.
Or an elbow.
Or an elbow, yes. Or even just evading it. Yeah. But it's a normal one of those three, unless you're Samoa Joe who does a rock bottom.
Yeah. Or if there's Triple H, who will not take the avoiding move. He does not like going into the turnbuckle.
Yeah, no. That's if you're taking the shoulder thrust
in
the corner goes. But anyway.
So that was the finish.
That was the finish to this match.
Dennis ran into the boot and fell down.
And 1, 2, 3. It was all over. And I stood there.
You were sitting.
I sat there. Looking like Billy Jack Strong. And I wrote, the fuck?
You were in pretty good shape then.
What?
Wasn't the most expected.
I didn't write what the fuck. I wrote the fuck what?
What was the finish of the first match again? I gotta look this up. a pile driver. A regular pile driver. The second finish was a tombstone pile driver.
It was a match of pile drivers, which is, well, the 80s for you.
But this guy wins with a boot to the face. Not even like a running big boot. Just lifting up his leg lazily. Maybe it was like a bro kick, and the fact that Dennis ran so hard with such velocity that his head ran so hard into the boot and he knocked himself out.
Yeah, maybe. I don't care.
This is my first Soldad match. Maybe his gimmick was that he had like boots that like had a gimmick on it.
That's insane, even for the 80s.
I don't know.
Even though everyone was on drugs in the 80s. Well, so it could have worked.
Soldad won, and then we had the most hated in the AWA. We had the most popular, so I might as well get the most hated. Number one most hated guy was Cool Curt Hennig.
Which made me go, what made Curt Hennig so cool? And I realized everything made Curt Hennig cool.
You could say he was perfect.
You could say that he was Mr.
I couldn't say that at all.
Oh,
number two was Paul E. Dangerously.
The Paul E. Dangerously. The man, the myth, the legend.
Number three.
I don't know what he's doing now.
He's fat. Unlike he was back then.
He's skinny.
We'll get to that. Number three was Soldad Gustav.
I hated him for a completely different reason.
Number four was unfortunately a man we did not see on this, adorable Adrian Adonis. And number five was Ace Bob Orton. Either one of those two men would have been a welcome sight to the show.
Yeah, I'd rather see Ace Bob Orton hit the Ace Crusher.
Orton.
Tim
Horton.
Shut up! It's late.
It's not. It's 6 at night.
It's late in the studio.
Alright.
Yawn, I'm going to bed.
Next we had the main event, because this was not a long show, it's only a half an hour. And it was the Midnight Rockers of Michaels and Jannetty versus the Midnight Express of Dennis Condrey and Randy Rose with Paul Heyman.
No, Paul E. Dangerously.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I don't know what Paul Heyman character is.
My first note was, God, Paul was skinny back then.
Yeah, he was.
Thanks, true. I took a good amount of notes on this match. So I'll just read through all my notes.
Yes.
Alright. Let's see. Shawn starts off with Cordy. Shawn punches him and throws him outside the ring. Marty Jannetty gets into it. He picks up Cordy and hits him with an atomic drop. And he sold it amazingly by clenching his butt, jumping up and down, and falling over while still holding onto his butt and looking like he was in immense pain. Randy Rose tried to run over and hit Jannetty, but Jannetty ducked the clothesline and hit him with an atomic drop. Both heels were having their ass in pain, as Marty Jannetty saw it, my career can never go downhill.
Yep.
Then, Midnight Express began to walk out of the match. They've had enough. They had enough of their ass hurting, and more specifically Marty Jannetty. They started to walk out until the Rockers picked up their championship belts and posed with them.
Yeah.
This act of posing with a belt was just too much for these men to take. They couldn't handle it, seeing the men that had just hurt their butt posing with their titles. So they came.
How does that work? You hurt my butt so much. Now I'm going to leave you. They pose for my titles? God, I have to come back and fight.
Maybe because a belt holds up a pants. And pants go for the butt.
Maybe they just needed some butt hurt in their life. They were not ready for that. They got so butt hurt by Marty Jannetty's atomic drops.
I don't blame them. They went pretty high up for these atomic drops.
They came down, crashing on his knee. Their ass was broken. Marty Jannetty broke these men's ass. These men had their asses broken in by Marty Jannetty.
Well then,
such pain that they left.
When they got back into the ring, it was still Michaels and Cordley, and Michaels Irish whipped him into his corner. And when Cordy bounced off the turnbuckle, Marty Jannetty ran and clotheslined him. Which, cheating, right from the ref.
Yeah.
But still, whatever. They're popular. Woohoo.
McDaniel.
Wahoo McDaniel. Woohoo McDaniel. So then, Dennis starts to take over. And he's like, hey, that little shit, Shawn Michaels. I can do what he did. So he goes to Irish whip Shawn into his corner, but Shawn counters, and Dennis goes into his corner. Somehow Randy does not know the difference between Dennis and Shawn, so Randy Rose just goes over and clotheslines his own tag team partner anyway.
Yeah.
So,
which I feel like I would do to you. Like, Andrew, I can't tell that's you, and I just run straight at you and, like, rip your head off.
Yeah.
It's gonna happen sooner or later.
It will.
I'm sorry.
I'm surprised it didn't happen in RCW.
I'm surprised it didn't happen today.
I had a bad experience with clotheslines in RCW once.
We had a bad experience today. Do you think you'll be able to record? Probably not. What? And I laughed maniacally.
But then we ended up recording. What are you looking at? Alright, don't say anything.
I just stared out in space and just lost my mind for a second.
Alright,
I think I really wanted to rip your head off for a second.
What?
What?
Alright.
Anyway.
So Shawn Michaels went to Irish whip Dennis. And at the same time, Paul E. dangerously got on the ropes.
Mm-hmm.
And while distracted, first Dennis countered the Irish whip and Randy Rose pulled down the ropes. So Shawn went crashing out of the ring onto the concrete floor.
That son of a bitch, Shawn Michaels. He'll never make it anywhere.
Nope. And then Marty Jannetty got all mad, so Marty Jannetty started to get into the ring. This distracted the ref, because Marty's an idiot.
Yeah.
And as the ref was distracted, Dennis, on the outside, picked up Shawn and ran him into the ring. He ran him into the, what's it called? Why am I not remembering this? What's the side of the ring?
The apron?
The apron, yes. He ran him into the apron and then threw him back into the ring.
I was so disgusted with you for a second. I was like...
The Midnight Express tried to work over Shawn Michaels. They didn't try, they did. They cut off the ring, including at one point hitting Shawn with a huge clothesline that turned Shawn inside out.
I almost said, I don't know why I have a problem with the All Night Express in this match.
I too have a problem with Kenny King and Rhett Titus in this match.
Apparently the All Night Express were fighting the Rock and Roll Express versus the Midnight Express, and the Rockers were there.
Yeah, and so was Paul Heyman.
Woo!
Woohoo, McDaniel.
Woohoo, McDaniel.
So, Shawn Michaels starts to do a comeback. He punches Dennis, and he punches him again, and he punches him one more time.
Thank you for demonstrating with Daniel Bryan, Undertaker with these action figures.
You're welcome.
Alright.
So Shawn goes to run the ropes, but as he does, Dennis hits him with a kitchen sink, throwing everything, including the kitchen sink, at poor Shawn Michaels. And Shawn is quickly getting worked over again. Dennis punched Shawn, and he picked Shawn up and punched him. And the only logical thing to do after that is turn around and dance. Because that's what Dennis did. He punched Shawn.
Did I miss something?
Yeah. He punched Shawn. Shawn was still standing on his feet. Dennis turned around, looked at Randy, looked at Paul, and looked at the crowd and started dancing. He was all excited that he could throw a punch. But then he turned around and Shawn punched him. And that somehow knocked him completely off his feet. Shawn went to crawl over to make a tag, but before he could, Randy Rose came back in the ring and he took down Shawn Michaels, throwing him back into their corner and ended up hitting that Jack Swagger bomb move. Shawn Michaels got worked over for most of the match. There was one point where Shawn was starting to come back, and right as he was, Randy Rose just dropped toe-holded him, and that took Shawn Michaels out again, as he was stuck in their corner once again.
And God, Shawn Michaels was getting the shit kicked out of him. The same Shawn Michaels that fought Undertaker at WrestleMania 25 and 26. The same Shawn Michaels that had a bloodbath with Triple H throughout 2002, 2003, and 2004. The same Shawn Michaels that had the boyhood dream when he beat Bret Hart for the title. This Shawn Michaels was getting his ass kicked.
When I bring that up, Shawn was in an octopus stretch by Dennis, and Paulie dangerously gets on the apron to distract the ref. And he's still in the octopus stretch, but Dennis moves a little to his right, because while Paul has a ref distracted, Randy Rose is climbing to the top rope, and they positioned Shawn in a way that Randy came off the top rope with a double axe handle and hit Shawn in the ribs. And But the weird part is they never, like, even pretended to do, like, make a fake tag sound. So, like, the ref would turn around and see that Randy was in the ring now, when the last time he looked in, he saw that it was Dennis. So you would think he would be a little confused by that, but he wasn't.
No.
But it didn't matter much long anyway, because Dennis was back in the match shortly. They went to do a double clothesline to Shawn, but Shawn ducked and double clotheslined them. And after about 15 minutes or so of Shawn getting worked over, he was making his way, and the crowd was getting hyped. And I know this was 88, and I'm No. It was 88. I don't care what time period it was. The crowd got on their feet. The crowd got ecstatic. Shawn Michaels was dead, and he leapt for the tag. And that motherfucker tagged in none other than Marty Jannetty. The crowd went insane for Marty Jannetty in such a way that left me looking like, once again, Billy Jack Strong. So damn confused that I wrote, "What does that?" I can't even finish my sentence. I didn't know what I was doing. Well, lucky for you. I was so enthralled with the fact that this crowd of people in Las Vegas have jumped onto their feet for Marty Jannetty. The same Marty Jannetty that most of these people nowadays will not know who you're talking about. What Rockers? What Midnight Rockers? What AWA? What Marty Jannetty? Like Damien. Does he not know that Marty Jannetty exists? No, I was talking about he probably wouldn't know the AWA. Oh. Or Midnight Express. Or All Night Express. Especially the All Night Express. But anyway, the fact of the matter is... Or if they do know Jannetty, they know him as a loser. Yes. But Marty Jannetty in 1 second made it look like he was the biggest star in the biggest company, getting the most money. Which we all know was a lie. Yes. But Marty did play up to it because he was so excited to get this tag. He hopped in the ring. He jumped when he got in the ring, and he punched both men. He body slammed both men. And he was taking them out. He was giving them the business. He bonked their heads together. And then he rolled up Dennis for a 2 count. But even though it was a hot tag, Marty wasn't in the match for long because the time period that Shawn was in the match compared to the time period that Marty was in the match, Shawn was in the match for a lot longer. Well, yeah. Marty got all the offense in for his team. Yeah. But after the 2 count, all 4 men got into the ring. And this plays into the finish somehow, I guess. Dennis suplexes Shawn Michaels into the referee. Oh my god, that's right. Now the referee is knocked down. Then Dennis punches Shawn Michaels out of the ring. Where the hell was I leaving off? Randy Rose has Marty Jannetty like where you grab him and like you have his arms behind him, like you're holding him by his arms. And he gets Dennis to try to punch Marty. But Marty uses his feet to propel himself up and kick Randy, and at the same time, him and Dennis fall back. Yeah. For a pin. And a second referee runs down, and he goes to make the pin, but at the same time, the first referee stands up and he makes the pin. And they both get the count at 3. Now, I was thinking this was going to lead to, one referee was counting Marty, and the other one was counting Dennis, because it looked like both of their shoulders were down. But, nope, they just both agreed that the Rockers won. Well, the thing was about it that I know what you seem confused about now was the fact that Marty Jannetty, when he propelled his feet off of Randy, he landed on top of Dennis, meaning that his shoulders were not on the ground. They were on top of Dennis, while Dennis was stuck underneath fat-ass Marty Jannetty. But look at this example. As they're falling back, you could land like that. But they didn't in a backslide position where both their shoulders are on the ground. No, they were exactly at the same shoulder length. His shoulders were not touching the ground at all. Well, then I don't know why they needed to have a ref bump. Just have the ref get back up and then send down another ref. I think that suplex wasn't meant to actually hit the ref. I think it was just actually there. So they were like, fuck, we came up with a ref bump. Alright. That is a cool ref bump, a suplex into the ref. It's not really used much. Yeah. It wasn't. Well, the Rockers won the tag team champions, ladies and gentlemen. They didn't win the tag team champions, they won the tag team championship. And then there was just a commercial hyping up the next show.
Yeah.
Overall, it was a
good show. I mean,
was it? There was one good match, and that was the main event.
Shut up. It's Shawn Michaels, so of course I'm going to say it's a good show. Anything with Michaels is good.
I don't really know if I want to sit through another card that has Billy Jack Hayes and...
Billy Jack Hayes.
Not Billy Jack Hayes.
Billy Jack Strong?
Billy Jack Strong.
Jack Hayes?
There's a Billy Jack Hayes.
What?
Yeah. It was a show.
It was a show.
It was an 80s show.
An 80s show at best.
The men meant to get over, got over. They were the dominant stars who beat up everyone. That's the difference. 80s does it right. I'm not saying you need more squash matches, but in today's WWE 50-50 style booking, nobody's a main eventer. Everyone's, except if your name is Roman or Triple H, sometimes Dean for B-level pay-per-views, or Bray Wyatt for C-level pay-per-views.
The hell is a C-level pay-per-view?
Capital Punishment.
Capital Pants is what you just said?
Capital Pants. But with all these 50-50 bookings, everyone's on the same level. At least back in the 80s, I knew that Billy Jack Strong was the man.
Yeah.
Was a guy who just beat everyone. He was supposed to be a top star. Same with the tag team that won in the opener. They were supposed to be the big stars.
The thing nowadays is you can't have a guy apparently like Bray Wyatt fight someone else. He has to fight main eventers. Oh. And when you have main eventers that fight main eventers, the main eventers that you want to push are going to go against main eventers that you don't want to push. I don't think...
Have him fight other people. Have him squash people. Who cares? That just gets him over as a monster.
It does.
That's what happened with Goldberg. He didn't start off fighting main eventers. He fought Hugh Morris in his first match.
Where's my charger?
I don't know. You have it right there.
No, my...
Charger?
Yeah.
I don't know what that is. But, so yeah, you don't want... I would much rather have Bray Wyatt beating lower level mid-carders and getting wins than losing to Big Show and Ryback and Kane.
We have to wrap this up before my thing dies.
Alright, well that was a pay-per-view, ladies and
gentlemen. That was not a pay-per-view.
That was the AWA show.
Woo! If y'all want to see some more, y'all gonna have some bullshit coming y'all way.
Thank you for joining us. We will have a fourth review coming up eventually.
And those words with Mankind, that's enough of your cracker jack cracker bullshit. We out.